I won't be hyperbolic and say this is the hardest video I've ever recorded, but I will say I have struggled to shoot this video because, if you see from the title, I am an idiot. So I was scrolling or looking on YouTube, and I just kept seeing that title pop up. I am an idiot. And it it resonated with me as far as titles go, because well, as you know, as the viewer, I founded Gamble Comics, and I put out a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. However, what you may not know is I invested in a website, and it has only ever made one sale. I'll say this: one sale through the website. I have had people come up to me in real life and say, "Oh, I watched your YouTube video, and I'd like to buy your book." So maybe the channel or the website has been more beneficial than it feels like when you're having a freak out. But as far as freakouts go, and as far as the title, I Am an Idiot, goes, it's due to the fact that I know I have put more into this than I have gotten out. I haven't even broken even yet. And so after that open rolls, after the ad read, which feels unnecessary or non-productive, I'll explain to you why I am an idiot. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy. The title of the video is kind of a misdirect. It's a bait and switch. It is for entertainment purposes. I won't say only, but primarily. What I said before the open rolled and before the ad read, it's true. I have invested more into Gamble Comics and Everlasting Survivors than I have been able to get out of it. But that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, because the point of this video is to announce the next project from Gamble Comics and the new format that Gamble Comics will be using for some time. So, one of the barriers to entry that I was often told by people was that $20 felt like a lot to spend on an unknown entity, a product that people hadn't heard of. And so going forward, Gamble Comics will be putting out 17-page floppy books, original style comics, if you will, on the small scale. And reason being is, by putting out books at a quarter of the size and that are without a spine, I'll be able to sell the books for a quarter of the price. So Gamble Comics will be going from graphic novel for $20 to traditional comic book for $5. And so with that, the hope is the audience will grow, not just for the channel, but for the company in general. And so I've also had multiple individuals, the ones who have participated, partaken, read, and enjoyed Everlasting Survivors, and they say, but Oz, what about Volume 2? And so here's what I'll say about Everlasting Survivors Volume 2. It will come out after I believe the plan is 8 floppy issues of New Heroes gets released. Then the next trade paperback size of Everlasting Survivors will be released as to satiate the appetite of those who have come before, and giving all of the new readers and the new audience from the new product a bigger and more robust book to latch onto. So with all of that build up, let's talk about the next project in the works for Gamble Comics, and that is BC Brute. So this story is it's an action-packed tale where the hero is from the pre-biblical flood time, and he fights off monsters that are inhabiting the world around him, and protecting people. And his nature is to be a protector. I see him in some ways like Conan the Barbarian, but in other ways kind of like He-Man, minus the Prince Adam part, and definitely with echoes of Thor from Marvel, not so much Norse mythology. But the point behind releasing BC Brute first is I had this friend come to me and say, hey, I have a friend who does great art, and I think you guys would get along well together. But the funny thing is, I kind of shunned it. I was like, man, I know I ain't got stacks and stacks of cash. I know I'm not successful, so maybe I shouldn't meet your friend and have, this conversation about how that I can't afford to pay for anything right now. But the upside is I went against my instincts, and I did meet up with my friend who does art, and he, his name is Aaron. He did 4 pieces: a Sublime Eye, a Authentic Miracle Dominic Canuho, and a Natural Guardian Reece Shaw, along with a team shot, as not so much a test, although somewhat of a test, but more so as a way to, it's a proof of concept. It was a way to prove to him that, hey, I'm a reliable person to pay you for art, and it's a way for him to prove to me that he is consistent when it comes to his art. So after he finished those 4 pieces, I gave him the pitch for the next 8 short stories from Gamble Comics, and he's the one who picked BC Brute as his favorite among the ones that are to come. And so that's why it is the next to be released from Gamble Comics. And in the coming weeks or the coming months, we will have a video on the channel together, Aaron and I, where we'll talk about the progress that has come and what is to be expected from BC Brute, because my hope is to have it out before or in the fall, basically. If that becomes unattainable, I'll definitely be upfront about that, but that's my go-to plan, is to have it available before the end of the year, because I would love to get started on the next short story, because the more the stories are short and cost efficient, my hope is that the more people can get enthralled in the world and want to go back and spend money on the $20 68-page graphic novel. And the other important part of this starting short is that because it's a quarter of the price for a quarter of the story, once there are 4 short stories, they can be collected into the Silverback edition, like Everlasting Survivors Volume 1 already came out in. So I know that the title, I Am an Idiot, was done in sort of jest, but also a bit of fear, if you will. But my hope is that it'll all come together and make the expense or the investment in GambleComics.com and Everlasting Survivors Volume 1 all be more clear as to, I won't say its importance, because it's all important, but its fundamental nature. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the announcement of the upcoming style and projects. But yeah, like I said, if you're here and you've made it to the end and you haven't read Everlasting Survivors, there's always a link in the description of every video to GambleComics.com so that people are able to pick up the 68-page graphic novel. Thank you. Enjoy. See you next week.